Hey everybody, it's Tony with Big T Bariatric, and I'm back at you with another video. Today it is Tuesday, March 7th. I hope you're having a great day so far. If you could do me a huge favor, please hit the subscribe button down below. Let's get this thing to 4,000. We are almost there. Thank you very much to everybody who's subscribed so far. Leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think about this video. But before I get started with this one, I just want to talk about yesterday's video. It was the fastest growing video that I've ever had. So thank you very much. I gained a lot of subscribers, and yeah, it was amazing, and I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. But with that came some hate comments. Somebody saying that I look like that I need someone to bathe me constantly because I'm so fat. Okay, whatever. You know, people come on here, they don't know that I've lost 165 pounds. They don't know that I have my own journey that I talk about on here. They just see a fat person talking about other fat people, and they tell me I need to shut up, and nobody wants to hear what I have to say. So whatever, it is what it is. If you don't know anything about me, you could look at my other videos and see that I talk about these issues. I talk about obesity. I talk about lots of things. I try to warn people about the fat positivity movement. What I want to talk about from yesterday's video is I didn't really discern the difference between a home health aide and a home health nurse. I have a brother-in-law and a sister who are both home health nurses. They both have degrees and everything else. And one is sort of retired because he broke his hip and he hasn't been able to get back out there. But my sister does hospice care and is a home health nurse. So she goes to different houses and takes care of her patients. And so I assume that's what she does. Not only does she work with pain management and stuff like that, she also cleans and cooks and does other things. So that's why I assumed that the lady who came to the woman's house in yesterday's video was a home health nurse. But I understand the distinction now. There's not a plaque on the wall at her house that lets me know whether she's a nurse or an aide. I don't know. She could have been a nurse. She could have been an aide. And I am also hearing that there are nursing programs that do include nutrition. So that's great. I'm glad that they are starting to do that. But my sister told me that they did not teach a lot about nutrition when she went to school. So maybe some courses are different than others. Either way, what they do teach today about nutrition, a lot of it is wrong because they do base it on the food pyramid, and the food pyramid has been debunked a long time ago. Anyways, if you were offended by me calling her a home health nurse yesterday, I'm sorry. It's whatever. I made a mistake. But anyways, we're going to get right into this video today. It's David's story, another crazy My 600 Pound Life from season 10. So we're going to get into this right now.
My 600 Pound Life is one of the craziest shows on TV, and season 10 is certainly no exception. In this video, we discuss David, a 763 pound 30-year-old who's been bounced in and out of foster care his entire life. These days, it's hard for David to wake up in the morning, not just because of the constant pain, but because he no longer cares to even live his life. At 30 years old, his obesity has given him a death wish. He takes muscle relaxers and 8 different types of prescription painkillers every day just to function, and still can hardly stand long enough to shower. The only thing that keeps him going every day, you guessed it, food. Today we're diving into the
That really sounds like me at my heaviest, man. Muscle relaxers, all different kinds of prescription drugs, painkillers, whatever, man. When you get that size, you do lose your will to live. I mean, the only thing you get up for in the morning is food. And we see a lot of them, the only time they get out of the house every single week or even month is to go buy more food. So food is really the only reason that they live. And so they try to kill the pain any way they can. And when they get so big, there's only so much food that they can eat. And it gets to a point where even the food doesn't even do it for them anymore. So they need prescriptions. They need all kinds of drugs and muscle relaxers and everything else. Because you can't imagine how painful it is to have that much weight on your body unless you've been there.
Craziest moments from David's season 10 episode on TLC's My 600 Pound Life. But before we get started, like this video and don't forget to subscribe to Plot Twist for more. David's birth mother was just 13 years old when she delivered him. His birth father was never around and he was never able to meet him. He went right into the foster care system as a child and bounced from house to house because no one wanted to keep him. Many of the houses had foster parents that didn't care about the kids and were only interested in the government benefits. From an early age, he learned to eat as much as possible because he never knew when he was going to be fed again. Around the time he was 3, he was placed with a permanent foster family and was officially adopted. His foster father would abuse him and hit him with a belt. His foster mother would slap him around too, once so hard he broke his nose.
I mean, that's just horrible trauma right there. And that's what I like to talk about these issues, is because a lot of people look at a fat person and they just see the fat on their body and they just make fun of them and say, you know, all you got to do is just eat less and that's it. And I get a lot of hate comments from people who say, why do you sympathize with them? You're just fat people sitting around and patting each other on the back for being fat. I literally had that comment before. It's like, no, we're not patting each other on the back for being fat. We're trying to encourage each other to lose weight and get healthy. But it's not as simple as just eating less and that's it. Because most of us who got to be this size had some sort of trauma in our lives. And everybody who had trauma finds a coping mechanism. I don't care who you are, you have used something to cope with your trauma. You don't just deal with it and go through life and you have no coping mechanisms. That's just not how it works. Some people, it just happens to be food, and the consequences of that is very visible on their body. But you may have chosen a coping mechanism that is not so visible. Maybe it is more socially acceptable, like heavy drinking or sex or whatever. In today's free sex society that we have, you can go out and sleep with 20 guys a night if you want to, or 20 women, or whoever you want to sleep with, and nobody cares, right? You're actually cheered on because you're promiscuous and whatever. But that might be a coping mechanism because you need that pleasure, because you're trying to overcome a lot of trauma and pain in your life. You might have become hypersexualized as a result of your sexual assault or your rape. I mean, that is a common consequence of, needing a coping mechanism. That's just how it works. Everybody has something. We all have that dark little something in our lives that maybe we're not proud of, or something that we use to help us get through the day, because life can be miserable at times. So that's why I sympathize with people who are struggling with their weight, because most of us have had trauma in our lives. I was abused mentally, physically, and sexually the entirety of my childhood. I mean, I understand that. I've been there and I've worked for decades to overcome that. And now I'm doing it with the right therapy, the right program. I've lost 165 pounds and I am working on my diet and I am working on my life and I am working to overcome the trauma that I went through. So, hey, if you don't like that, you don't have to watch my channel, but I'm going to continue sympathizing with people who've been through all of that. I understand you and I love you and I'm here to care about you. That's just who I am.
He reached 250 pounds at middle school and eventually got kicked out of the house because his foster parents were upset he threw a party. He then gained 100 pounds in a year and shut himself out of society entirely. Now at 30, David lives with a new foster mom, Robin. He had nowhere else to go, so Robin took him in. She said no one else loved him or looked after him, so she stepped up to the plate. David's happy living with Robin, but still struggles with his weight as he has no self-worth or any internal motivators to live a better life. It's truly tragic.
My birth mom was 13 years old when she had me, and she was using cocaine. And my birth dad wasn't around, and so I went right into foster care.
Wow, 13 years old and using cocaine and having a child at that age, that had to have been really, really rough. And then here David has grown up, not knowing his birth parents, completely rejected by them, and himself just bouncing around foster care systems, being abused along the way. I mean, it's absolutely tragic, and I feel for him.
Bounced around to different foster care houses while I was young. We'd eat really poorly. So from an early age, I learned to eat as much as I could when a meal was given to me, because sometimes you wouldn't know you're going to get fed again. Around the time I was 3.
I mean, yeah, that's a lot of where I came from too. Like, we lived in such poor conditions. We lived on the side of a highway in Houston, and we called the place the Woodyard because it was just a shack, and the ceiling was made of it was like a tin roof type thing, just nailed to boards, and not saran wrap, but like a plastic wrap tarp thing was our walls, and the floor was just dirt. Like, that was where we lived. It was a dirty, disgusting shack that was just built up in like a few days. It wasn't even a house. It wasn't a stable system. Anytime a severe thunderstorm came through, we had to run to the store next door for shelter because we didn't have a good shelter. And so, like, it was really just a place of business, and they had like stacks of wood all over the place. And so people would drive in, we'd fill their car up with wood. Maybe they're going camping or something. They'd pay us, and then, that was how I lived for several years. We called it the Woodyard. And just think about the bugs and the just pure nastiness. And there was times where we didn't have a lot of food. We didn't have a refrigerator. We didn't have a normal stove and oven. We didn't have all of that. So anytime we did have food, like, you learned right away, just eat as much as you can because you don't know when your next meal is going to come. So it wasn't just times of just pure gluttony my entire life, but it was times of famine, times where you didn't have a lot of food, times when you were drinking sour milk that had long expired, times when you have to go to the food pantry to get some food, and a lot of that was expired. But a lot of it was spaghetti and high carb things and stuff like that. So, you ate what you could and not knowing when your next meal is going to be. So that led to an imbalance of having an unhealthy relationship with food.
I got placed with a permanent foster family, the Nelsons. When I would get disciplined, he would hit me so hard with the belt, it would leave marks. My foster mom would hit me too. I remember she took me to the garage as punishment and slapped me in the face.
Oof, that is just pure torture. Pure torture. Man, I feel for you, David. I've totally been there.
Bunch, and I broke my nose. All through my childhood years, I was taking comfort in food, any chance I could get. And by the time I was in middle school, I was 250 pounds.
That was me. In middle school, I was about 200, 250 pounds. I was living with my dad at the time. I had left Texas and we were in Michigan. And I remember one summer I gained 60 pounds. And I didn't understand it because it was like I was very active. I was swimming and playing football and riding my bike to my friend's house who lived a couple miles away. And we did this like trampoline wrestling organization thing. So we were constantly jumping around the trampoline and wrestling. And I was very active that summer. And I still gained 60 pounds because I was probably like binge eating too. Because I remember I'd come home from school, or when it wasn't school, this was that summer. Whatever was in the fridge, I would just binge eat. And I remember stepping on the scale and I was over 200 pounds. And my dad was very concerned for me.
Our parents went to California to bury the grandma. They up and left my siblings and I, 3 teenagers left alone. What are teenagers gonna do? They're gonna throw a party. When they got home, just like that, they kicked us out. So this was supposed to be my mom and dad, who had raised me for 10 years. When they threw me out, so it killed me.
David came into my world when he was 17 years old, the instant I met him, and I called Health and Welfare and said, hey, I really want David to come live with me.
Thank God for her, man. I'm glad that David had at least her who was willing to take him in. She has a huge heart, and I'm so blessed that he had someone like her.
Under Robin's care, David finally had a chance to be happier and healthier, but sadly he wasn't. After losing his job at Walmart due to partying, David got a job as a trucker and drove cross-country. He was satisfied with the job and the pay, but deep down he was severely depressed. One day he noticed a big red patch on his skin and was disgusted with himself. It ended up being a severe cellulitis infection. He had
I mean, this guy's story mimics mine a lot. Being neglected, being kicked out of places, being abused, and having all that trauma. And I was also a truck driver for 2 years. I mean, yeah, when I was homeless, that was the only thing that I could do at the time. I couldn't do it now because I'm too big. But yeah, there was a time when I was a truck driver, and it was the most miserable job that I've ever had because you're on the road 2 weeks at a time before you even get 2 days off, and then you work 2 more weeks. So you get 2 days off per month pretty much, and you're on the road the entire time, and it's just you're alone, you're huddled in your cab, you're living in a small tiny cab. It was absolutely miserable, and the pay wasn't even that good.
reached 800 pounds and was miserable. He realized he could no longer get in and out of his truck as easily as he used to at around 400 pounds. Sadly, at this point, David became suicidal. He tells the viewers a horrifying story of him driving over a bridge on his truck and flinching because he had to stop himself from driving over the edge and killing himself.
I was eating, drinking, and partying and not being a good employee at my job at Walmart, so they had to let me go. After Walmart, just started working, driving forklift and in trucks for farmers, and then that got me into long distance driving. I didn't leave the road for a year. This was pretty cool. But at the same time, on an emotional level, I noticed that I was depressed, and I kept eating fast food because that is what's available on the road.
Yeah, it wasn't that long after my dad died, so a lot of it probably was depression that I was sad. I was out on the road. I was eating miserably because that's what you got out on the road, right? Fast food, all the truck stops have fast food restaurants in there, so I was eating like crap and just feeling bad and just gaining weight, and I smelled really bad because you don't really get an opportunity to take showers. You have to pay to use showers at truck stops, and even then they're very small rooms, and it was a very miserable job.
My weight built up to 800 pounds, and one day I woke up, I started thinking about suicide. I'd drive over a bridge and I'd flinch because I thought I'd pull the steering wheel and dive off of it with the truck.
One One of the craziest moments of David's episode was discovered that, unlike almost every other patient on the show, he's not enabled. That's right, David's foster mom Robin makes sure he goes to the gym twice a week and accompanies him on grocery shopping trips. She forces him out of the house so he can get his steps in every day and wants to monitor the type of food David buys and consumes. It's wild to know that despite her efforts, he's still obese, but it's crazy to think that he has someone fighting for his success every day and still can't slap it together.
Yeah, thank God for her, man. I'm so glad he has someone like her. She's actually encouraging him and say, hey, come to the store with me, get your steps in, let's go. I'm going to watch what you're buying. Like, that's what it takes. You know, someone who is in your life is either going to enable you or is going to help you out. And someone like that who's going to help you out, I mean, that's amazing.
One of the ways Robin gets me to be more active is to take me out grocery shopping.
All right, let's stay out of the candy aisle. Don't be looking at the pizzas. I was nervous about...
She'll be looking at the pizzas. That's exactly where I'd be at the grocery store. Like, let's see, what kind of pizzas do they have?
Going with David to the grocery store, it was good to get him out and moving, and I was really proud that he made it through a number of the aisles, but his food choices are terrible. And he knows that I don't want to boss him around. He is a grown person, he is his own person, but I worry about his food choices.
My back hurts, my knees hurt, my feet hurt. The only thing that keeps me going is all the food we just bought.
I mean, there's so much you can do, right? What are you going to do? You're going to kick David out again and just add to his misery? I mean, he's a grown adult. He's going to buy what he's going to buy. And, you know, as long as she tries her best and gets him out to exercise and stuff like that, I mean, there's not very much more that she could do other than threaten to kick him out, which... honestly, she understands his trauma and probably wouldn't do that to him. But hopefully he gets it figured out.
David and Robin left Idaho for Houston so he can meet with Dr. Now. The trip was a total of 4 long days driving on the road. Surprisingly, David drove most of the way, even though his back was killing him and he was in immense pain. Finally, in the middle of the night, he and Robin pulled into a hotel and were able to rest, but not right away. David struggled hard to get out of the driver's seat of the van. He simply could not do it. He tried moving his stomach away from the steering wheel, but was too out of breath to move too much. He was choking and grasping for air with every moment, but couldn't break free from the chair. His face was red and sweaty, and he yelled out in pain as soon as he got his feet on the ground. When he finally got to the hotel room, he couldn't even breathe and nearly had a panic attack due to finally realizing how huge he is. Getting stuck in the van was traumatizing for David and easily one of the craziest moments of his episode.
Ooh, that's rough, man. I can imagine just 4 days on the road. Probably he hasn't even left that seat. He probably slept in that seat. I don't know that, though. I'd have to watch the episode to see if he got out at all. He'd probably have to use the bathroom. So I don't know. But, yeah, I can imagine that you got so bloated and swollen from 4 days on the road and just eating nothing but fast food, most likely. And, yeah, it's terrible. You can't even get out.
I feel my body starting to hurt more. I don't think we're going to make it more than 5 hours today. Okay.
Ooh, that's rough. I hate seeing that. I had a moment close to that. Not quite that bad, but when I first got my truck, my belly was overlapping the steering wheel. And so I had my seat almost all the way back just to be able to fit in there. Now it's all the way forward. I could wear my seatbelt, so I'm doing a lot better. But, yeah, I mean, it can be tough getting out of a vehicle when you have a large stomach like that. I mean, if there was a picture of what it looks like to be severely morbidly obese, that would be it. Just struggling to do anything. Getting out of bed is going to be that difficult. Going to the bathroom is going to be that difficult. Getting out of a vehicle, things that most people can do without thinking. It's just normal. They just do it. Everything to a big person is that hard.
When David reached out to My 600 Pound Life's Dr. Now for help, at the time he weighed in at 763 pounds. He lost roughly 68 pounds in only a few months after starting the program and was promptly authorized for surgery. Dr. Now told David to keep up the good work, lose 30 more pounds, and move to Houston to commit to the weight loss program. Sadly, when David returned to Houston, he returned to his weight of 738 pounds. Dr. Now had no choice but to cancel his surgery. This episode has some major highs and lows, but at the end, we're all rooting for David to be successful.
You lost 67 pounds and you're under 700 pounds.
Yeah.
So that is positive. So what changes you have made with your eating habit.
I think I've been on your program now for about 5 weeks.
Imagine what you could have lost if you did it for all 8 weeks. Well, I'm glad you got to where you needed to be mentally to start making the changes you need. So that's good. And I'm glad you lost 67 pounds. I'll approve you for weight loss surgery and schedule it for 2 months.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to be a big person struggling on this diet. That's where the term yo-yo dieting comes from, because you're going to have moments of success. You're doing really great, but then you turn around and then you have a bad month because something triggers it. You go back to eating the way you were. Maybe sometimes it's even a cheat meal, which is why I'm against cheat meals, but then I understand them at the same time because it's like you need to consider it a total new way of living, a new way of eating, because a diet is just that. You're doing something and you almost think it's a temporary thing. And it's very, very easy to get triggered to going back to eating the way you were. Because let's face it, you have to eat to survive. There's food on every corner, fast food on every street corner. I mean, it's out there. You can't escape it. And it's much difficult than any other drug out there. Because sugar is just as addictive as cocaine is. But they don't have cocaine on every street corner, right? But there's a McDonald's on every street corner. So that's why it's so difficult and so easy to fall back into old eating habits.
From now, and if you lose another 30 pounds by then and move down here to Houston in that time, we will move ahead with you.
Doctor told me to lose 30 pounds. And if I did, I'll be down to 665 today.
Your weight is 733.
It looks like I gained some weight since the last time. Hopefully I can still get the surgery.
I mean, but that's also one of those situations where he should have known that he gained weight, that he went back to his old eating habits. He got approved for surgery, and he just decided he was going to relax. He's like, okay, I'm there. I can relax now. Maybe he had a little bit of Last Supper syndrome where he was afraid of, oh, I'm going to have surgery. I'm not going to be able to eat these foods again. So he probably went back to eating the way he did before. But for me, it was like, there's nothing that's going to keep me from the surgery. Like, I've been waiting years for it. I've been working so hard. I lost almost 100 pounds before surgery. And I'm like, I'm at the home stretch now. But I did have that Last Supper syndrome where I was like, this is so hard because I don't think I'll be able to eat these foods again. And you know, it can be scary coming up against that.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
You're up to 733. So instead of losing 30 pounds, you gain 38 pounds. So you're just about 70 pounds away from where you should be today. So we're not going to be able to do your surgery. I know it's been a struggle for you, but we cannot move ahead with you for weight loss surgery if you gain like this.
Okay.
It's not safe.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, they live far away from Houston, so for him to, I guess he did move to Houston, yeah, but to get approved for surgery after 2 months of losing weight, then you gain weight, and you're at the hospital, you're in the gown, you're ready to go, you're ready for surgery, and it gets canceled. I mean, that's got to be horrible. I mean, man. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Thanks for watching me rant today. I guess some of the haters got to me a little bit, but hey, I try not to let them get to me. I'm still pushing forward. I'm not going to stop doing these videos. I'm keeping up on my journey. I'm losing weight. I'm feeling great. I'm doing awesome. So thank you so much for all of you and your support and your love and compassion towards me and other people who are struggling. I really appreciate it very much. I hope you have a great rest of your day. God bless you.